what he does.
What do you allow him to control temperatures from his laptop
Curious to see.
Very nice.
when we're over there and it's how much they're going to quote?
Oh, yeah.
Did you ask Robert about the facilities help desk?
That's highlighted where I saw it last time.
You know, where people put in
We're going to be watching the draft tonight.
All right, everyone, welcome. I have 7 o'clock. Everyone agree or close enough? I agree. Okay, all right. So welcome, everyone. Thanks for attending, those in person here, as well as those that are joining us online. Once again, welcome to this Van Buren Board of Education on this lovely, wonderful weather of April the 29th. So welcome, everyone. If you would like to call the roll, Mr.
Ms. Bright? Here. Mr. Fisher?
Here.
Ms. Thomas? Here. Ms. Williams? Here. Mr. Lightfoot?
Here. All right. Mr. Fisher, do you want to lead us in a moment of silence and pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Moving on to the agenda. Hopefully everyone here has one. If not, there are still some copies. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Looking at things, there were a few adjustments. Do you need one?
Yes, you send me that one.
Okay.
That way I can put it
I'll
in the
take a
packet.
paper copy too. Thank you. There are a few adjustments, and then I would like to add one in that direction under for the board's discussion. This will be item 3. And Melinda would like to talk about Voucher First Ohio. This is something that she learned about in her most recent board education. And she sent out some information, but we wanted to add that to the agenda for an item to discuss. There were a few others. Looks like there was a change to superintendent's recommendation. That was an adjustment for the line item 1. Then there was a change on superintendent's recommendation in line item 6 and line item 11. Were there any other adjustments?
There was a late exhibit addition. I
Okay.
don't know if everyone saw that, and that was the additional contract for consideration under the plumbing contract. We were having trouble getting the quotes to come back.
So obviously we'll discuss them there during the superintendent's recommendation, but anything that you need to tell us in order to make a vote on making those adjustments?
No.
Okay, I just need a motion to approve the adjustments to the agenda as presented.
I will make your motion.
And as the first,
Second.
Indy is a second. Any items worth discussing? Hearing none, we are voting on approving the adjustments to the agenda. We would like to call the roll.
Ms. Bright?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Lightfoot?
Yes, motion carries and those adjustments are approved. Moving on to the board minutes from the March 18th meeting. Those were sent out and on the Google Share Drive for everyone to review. Hopefully you got a chance to do that prior to this. But is there any adjustments or anything that needed to be done to those minutes? Right? Hearing none, if you want to,
I'll make a motion.
that's what I need. Thank you. Need a second.
I'll second it.
All right. There's a second. Any items worth discussing? Hearing none, if you would like to call the roll, this is on approving the minutes from the March 18th meeting.
Ms. Bright?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Lightfoot?
Yes. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Moving on to visitors' comments. We've not been live together for a little bit of time. So from the standpoint, we do have some visitors' comments to read from the submission online. But anything on here, obviously we'll take visitors' comments as well. There is a limit though to those to 3 minutes when it's in person from that standpoint. Extends out longer if the request is made to be on the agenda. We normally do that 5 minutes or at the discretion depending on what those presentations are. So I will open it up to the people that are in attendance here first. So anyone? Okay. Moving on, we will go to the ones that are online. So I will go ahead and get started. Melinda was kind enough to volunteer to help with these, so I appreciate that from that direction. So person we have is from Alyssa Leeper. This is Mrs. Johnson's class. Taught me some of the most valuable lessons that I've carried into my adult life. I know curriculum requires students to learn the Pythagorean theorem, how to solve for X, etc. But the lessons that Mrs. J teaches are ones that truly are used after school and into adulthood, not to mention the genuine love she has for her students and for teaching them. One of my favorite and most impactful teachers during my time at Van Buren. Next one is from Thomas Cunningham. The classes that Mrs. Johnson teaches are vital to real life. I was a good student in school, and the topics covered by Mrs. Johnson are the ones that I encounter on a daily basis. These are the classes that students need in order to survive the real world. This past year should make them more evident than ever. I sincerely hope that you reconsider your thoughts on dropping FCS to a part-time position. Mrs. Johnson is a wonderful teacher and a wonderful person, and I'm proud to say that I know and was taught by. Regards, Thomas Cunningham, class of 2010. Next one is from Patricia McCrosh. Because of the lack of diversity in the lunch items, will sushi be added to the menu? Next one is from Peter Farrington. Mrs. J should not be put on part-time. Jeannie Walker. Everyone has had that one or two teachers that they remember had a big impact on their lives. For me, that's Mrs. J. She not only teaches lessons that are used in daily life, but like cooking and sewing, but she created a supportive environment that made me not feel alone when my mom passed away. I look forward to her classes every day and even spent time of my lunches with her. She is one of the main reasons I look back at VBHS and find memories. Please don't rob others of that experience. I am currently a teacher and hope to inspire and support others as she did with me. Losing her to part-time or eliminating her position would be one of the biggest mistakes the administration could make. Next one is from Rachel Silver. Mrs. Johnson was my favorite teacher during my time at Van Buren. I can't tell you how many times post-grad I used the things that she taught me. Her classes teach actual life skills and I wouldn't have learned in high school otherwise. Her classes were full of fun in addition to being educational, and I can stress how big of an impact she's had on my life. I will turn it over to you.
I'm gonna remove my mask only because my glasses will fog up and I won't be able to see anything. This first is from Rhonda Nye. I'm expressing my concern as a community member and as a former VB teacher. I am saddened to learn of the recommendation that was voted on at the last board meeting to cut the position of Mrs. Jolene Johnson to part-time. I ask that you revisit the situation and reverse the decision, thus reinstating her to full-time status. Speaking as a community member, I feel betrayed and lied to in the fact that the community was assured that if voting yes on 2 recent levies, it would preserve the current programming and positions would remain the same. I caution you as a board to make decisions such as cutting Mrs. Johnson's position, as this puts a rancid taste in the community members' minds and you will never pass another levy again. People will never forget your actions. Secondly, Jolene Johnson is the type of teacher that we need in our school system. Van Buren has always had a small school environment, and the reason that happens is because you have caring teachers that extend their kindness to students, therefore establishing sound and safe relationships. Thus, it is your obligation to provide the same care and kindness to our teachers and their families. Students benefit from gaining leadership skills by attending a small school under such quality instruction. Mrs. Johnson is one of those teachers and provides a soft, quote, soft place for students to, quote, land. Not to mention the suburb, I think she needs a her, but suburb quality of her instruction. Especially more than ever, students need to acquire the basic skills needed to exist and become a successful member of society. In addition, I have learned that certain classes have been taken away from her and given to other teachers who are not the best qualified. This is disheartening to learn and simply not right. She is certified to teach CTE, and yet these classes are being assigned to another teacher who is not certified. She has done an excellent job teaching financial literacy, and yet these classes have been switched to other teachers basically to secure their jobs. This is simply a grave mistake in my view, and it smells like politics is part of the decision. Seems like a good old boy system is driving these decisions. In addition, I feel Van Buren is too administrative heavy. So much money is wasted in hiring all the admin positions. In a school our size, there's absolutely no need for an assistant superintendent, nor even both middle and high school principals. I also question the director of teaching and learning appears to have sole power and control in making critical curriculum decisions without consulting experienced staff. Look at other schools our size to compare. In closing, I urge you to reconsider reinstating Mrs. Jolene Johnson to full-time status and giving her back the classes that she has taught with excellence. We need more teachers like Mrs. Johnson if we are seriously making the most sound decisions for our students. Thank you for your consideration. I just lost my computer. This is from Ryan Randall. I'm expressing my concerns as a community member and as a, oops, that's the wrong one. I was assured that voting yes, oh, that's the same one too, I'm sorry. I'll just do it, that's fine. Okay, so this is from Ryan Randall. I'd like first to state that as an alumni, having to type this comment up, it's pretty disappointing. Living out of state, it has been difficult for me to get back to VB and enjoy all the updates and advances many old friends have posted. There's one that has remained high upon their list, and that's of Jolene Johnson and her position of family and consumer science being eliminated. Why? Over what? Last I checked, the levies, plural, passed for the school. I recently spoke to Brian Bratt as part of his career discussions for students. I actually touched on some subjects that relate directly to Jolene's role, and after seeing more posts recently from other alumni, it has compelled me to speak here. If there's a class/course most necessary for students, it's that of family and consumer sciences. What is something incredible most young people lack? It's to be able to cook, take care of money, childcare, and other things that are far more important than art class, which I still love to this day, but have zero use for it as an adult. All I can tell is this has been done over selfish reasons. This isn't the heart of the Van Buren schools that I used to know, and she is not brought back. If she is not brought back, I'll truly be embarrassed to be an alumni. This is from Ashley Reeser. It is such a sad loss to the school system to make Jolene Johnson's position part-time. The role she plays in the guidance and development of students extends for past the classroom and beyond the years at VBS. As a former Black Knight and parent of a student currently enrolled in her classes with 2 more students entering the school system in the future, it is heartbreaking to know they may not have the same experience and guidance I had with Mrs. J. Please reconsider this decision and reinstate her position to full-time. She is a prime example of what makes VBS such a great school. This is from Angelia Higgins. Family and consumer science is the one class in high school that really stuck with me through life. If I'm being completely honest, I don't remember or use the math, science, history, etc. But home ec was the one class in high school that is realistic, and the life lessons learned I carry with me and remember in my day-to-day life. Mrs. Johnson is also one of those teachers you never forget. There is no doubt in my mind she has made a profound impact on many students' lives that have passed through Van Buren, and she deserves to stay and to continue teaching at Van Buren. Now that I have my own son, I'm ashamed and disappointed in Van Buren for shortchanging future students like my son from an elective class that truly holds so much weight in real life. I urge you to please know the community is ashamed and disheartened by this decision, but ultimately it's the future of our local community that has to suffer. This is from Megan Conaway. I'm concerned and frustrated over the decision to take Jolene Johnson from full-time to part-time. She is a prime example of what makes VBS such a great school. We passed the levy so that we did not have to make any cuts within the school. If you go back on your word, how can you ever expect to have another levy in the future? This is from Brad Thomas. Do you remember that one person, parentheses, or people, that had an impact on your life that was so immense you actually recognized it in the present and didn't need to wait into the future to truly appreciate? That person is Jolene. I recognize and appreciate financial concerns and implications with all matters in life, but how much money does the impact cost to you? I challenge each of you to think about that person in your present or past that had this influence and ask yourself, how much did that cost? Is it equivalent to what would be missing without them? Jolene is a treasure, an asset, respected, appreciated, and needed. Make the right choice and know that you single-handedly were a part of positively impacting the children of Van Buren. Thank you and have a great day. And this is from Courtney Decker. Mrs. Johnson played a major part in my education and high school memories. She was more than a teacher to her students. She was a friend, she provided a safe space, and she cared about each one of us. I am forever grateful for the impact she has made on my life now, as I have nieces and nephews that attend Van Buren. It is a complete shame that their parents voted for the levy to help keep classes, teachers like Mrs. Johnson around for the kids' education. As a Van Buren alumni, it is disappointing that the system is trying to eliminate this part of the kids' education. Next is from Tiffany Johnson. To the Van Buren School Board. I'm writing to the Van Buren Board of Education to voice my concern, outrage, and other disgust about the vote that took place in the last board meeting. On March 18th, after an hour and 11 minutes of board president reading comments from community members, alumni, and current students, and 57 minutes of executive session, the board voted to approve the family consumer science teaching position to go from 1.0 FTE to 0.5 FTE effective with the 2021 to 2022 school year. First, with the two new board members who did not have to go through an election process by the community, a decision like this should have been tabled for a future board meeting until they were aware of what they were voting for and the impact it would have in the community. For the board members to not demand to have the data and information for this recommendation prior to the vote and to make that information public for the community is gross negligence on their part. This didn't happen, as pointed out by the question posed by the only board member to vote no. The promises that have been made about being more transparent with the community continue to hold no water. Second, over 80 comments were submitted prior to the noon deadline to be read aloud at the meeting. While I realize that responding to each individually or even several would have made the meeting even longer, the prepared response by the superintendent was unacceptable. The community deserved to hear the real reason this decision was proposed. They deserve for the school board to take this seriously and not to be laughing and joking moments after voting to effectively eliminate her livelihood. After doing the digging and getting the enrollment numbers, I am beyond disgusted that this is being passed as an efficiency or for the betterment of course offerings at Van Buren. The courses in question are still going to be offered, just not by Jolene Johnson. The reality of the situation is that the courses are being moved from Jolene Johnson and given to a teacher whose own course enrollment numbers are low. Even with removal of the middle school courses Jolene previously taught, her enrollment numbers were still higher than the teacher the courses are now being moved to. This is all being done in an effort to keep another teacher, quote unquote, safe. Favorites are being played, and it is glaringly obvious to anyone looking at the numbers. All right, and then we have a table of columns. School year Johnson, and then teacher A. 2017 to 2018, Johnson had, and these are for enrollment numbers, Johnson had 193, teacher A had 160. 2018 to 2019 school year, Johnson had 180, teacher A had 102. 2019 to 2020 school year, Johnson had 247, teacher A had 117. Total for Ms. Johnson, Mrs. Johnson, 620, teacher A was 379. Asterisk, middle school students made up 207 of this total enrollment number. Subtracting them from the enrollment total leaves 413 students enrolled. This is 34 greater than teacher A. So where does it end? The 2 levies were passed, the school assuring the community that teachers and programs would be safe. Now we are telling them this has nothing to do with finances. We've already received the veiled threat that there are more changes to come. So what process is in place for those decisions to be made? Are teachers going to be picked off one by one because they are not part of the quote, cool kids club, end quote? Are personal feelings clouding the judgment of the administration? Are board members going to quite literally blindly accept any and all proposed recommendations without any pushback, without demanding the information and data that led to the proposed recommendation? So we are at risk of losing good teachers. The decision that was made last month put something into motion far greater than this administration and school board realizes. You have lost the support of the community. You set a precedent that teachers' jobs can be eliminated without cause or justification. How can we expect the level of excellence at Van Buren to be maintained when you have created division in the school, in the community, and between students and staff? How can you eliminate or minimize the role of good teachers while others continue to do bare minimum, play favorites, and not have the best interest of our students in mind? How can we go back to residents in the community and beg for their continued support when the school isn't supporting its own teachers? I'm asking that you strongly reconsider this recommendation and reinstate Jolene Johnson as a full-time teacher at Van Buren and allow her to continue to be a pillar of excellence within the school system. As evidenced by the overwhelming show of support during last month's board meeting, she has affected the lives of everyone that has walked through her classroom door in a positive way. The skills she has taught students over her tenure at Van Buren have equipped them with life skills necessary to be successful moving through life, whether they pursue further education or go straight into the workforce. Please overturn your previous decision and allow Jolene to continue to be an asset to the school and students for years to come. Thank you, Tiffany Johnson. I believe that is the end.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for all the comments. All right. Moving on, informative reports. First one up is elementary.
Hello, everybody. I don't have anything to add to my reports. Are there any questions?
Mike, you're up.
I don't have anything to add. Can everybody hear me? Hello? Hello?
Mike, this is Kevin. I can hear you. I don't know why they can't.
Okay. Testing. Anybody at the meeting can hear? Hey, Kevin, unmute and see if they can hear you.
I am unmuted. I don't think they can hear me either.
Okay, all right. We hear a radio. I don't know what they hear.
Test.
Hello? Ed May said he can hear me.
Mike, you want to try again?
Says he's there. He's texting.
Can you hear me now?
Drummer.
Yes.
Oh, yep, we can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what was going on. I could hear you guys fine and everybody else on the Zoom call could hear me. I don't have anything to add. Are there any questions?
No questions for us. Please pass along to everyone in your building that we appreciate all their hard work, and it's nice to see in your report that, you know, field trips, field day, end of the year walks, all those things are potentially going to happen, which, yeah, didn't last year.
Yeah, we're excited about that too. So
All right. Well, thank you, sir.
thank you.
As mentioned, Mr. Clark isn't on, and then Mr. Schauf.
Yeah, good evening. I have nothing to add to my report. Any questions?
Any questions for? All right, Mr. Schauf, we do not have any questions. Thank you for the information, and please pass along to everyone in your building that we appreciate all their hard work as well. Everybody listening, that goes to everyone in the middle school as well. We do appreciate them. I know Mr. Clark wasn't here, but I do want to say that. So if you're listening, I'm not trying to snub anyone from that here. Thank you. All right. Next item, BBEA. Anything from anyone? Okay. Teaching and learning report.
Good evening. I have nothing to add. Are there any questions?
Questions for Ms. Schaefer? All right, we do not have any questions. Thank you for the report and thank you for all your hard work on it. Maintenance, transportation, food services. All of it.
All of it. I have nothing to add to my report, but I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
I will hold some of my questions until the treasurer's report when it comes to the contracts, because we were presented with a few, so I just want to make sure that we get the right one from your recommendation, or from both of your recommendations. So that's the only question I have, which we'll hold to then, if you're okay with that.
Sure.
Anyone, any other questions? All right, Mr. Kelly, thank you, and please pass along to everyone in your departments that we appreciate all the hard work, because I know they've been stretched thin, and my grass is growing just as quick as your all, so it's almost every other day tackle, so everything is looking good though. All right, athletics.
Nothing to add to the report that was submitted. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Slaughter? Does not look like we have any questions from that standpoint, so please pass along to all of your coaches that we appreciate all their hard work and keeping this as normal of a year as we can when it comes to athletics. So,
Will do. Thank you.
thank you. Technology, Mr. Smith.
I don't think I have anything to add, but I can't remember. We do have a couple of dates now for some installation of this stuff in the auditorium. Lighting is going to start next week, the lighting upgrades, and then the projectors are going to be in at the end of the month. And we're still waiting on some sound stuff. So those are two somewhat firm dates now. The projectors at the end of the month and the lighting at the next week.
End of May.
The end of May, the projectors, yeah, and the next week. The lighting.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you for all your hard work, and please pass that along to Ms. Blum. Superintendent.
The only additions I'd like to thank Mr. Slaughterbeck and Mr. Smith and Mr. Kelly for all of these projects that are starting to happen and starting to be completed. It's been a lot of work and a lot of upgrades, and one that is recent addition is the orchestra pit cover also, I believe, is going to be installed next Tuesday as well. So all of that's coming together. So I want to just thank them for all their hard work.
All right. Any questions? All right. Thank you. Moving on to the superintendent standing committee reports. First one up is personnel.
Our personnel committee is going to be meeting very shortly. We are working on reviewing the job descriptions that Mr. Bloom gave to us, as well as creating the superintendent's evaluation and other documents.
All right. Audit finance.
Audit and finance, we met this week, had a really productive meeting. We went through the performance audit and were able to kind of close the loop on that. We'll present a document probably through this meeting. We were able to really knock off all the action items that were given to us as recommendations. And then the next piece that we worked toward is figuring out how to better communicate with the community on our financial progress. And I do believe Don will talk a little bit about it, but we have had a less of a deficit spend for the last calendar year than we've had in the last 4 years. So while we're still deficit spending, we are at least not as bad as we were doing before. So we are making progress toward a little bit more financial security.
Thank you. Transportation and facilities.
We're meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll be able to go through the full facilities report, continue to look at the items that are being completed, that need to be completed, and hopefully have a better detailed report for you.
Sounds good.
And that was also an action item that came out of the finance committee, is that we need to have a joint meeting of facilities and finance.
Sounds
Just
good.
everything you guys do costs us money.
The only item that I will say on that one, just be, when we schedule it, make sure it's only one for each committee.
Yep.
Since they're shared, so I don't want 3 board members there. So just remember that. Somebody gets a pass.
We're all straw.
All right. Athletics and extracurricular.
We have not had any need to meet.
Okay. Policies, we will talk a little bit about that. We have the first readings for everyone, and we can go through those each if we need in detail. I will say during the meeting, majority of the changes to the policy were legally required. It's just minor verbiage that are changed, but no action needs to be taken on those as the first read, and we can talk about them if you need, or we can go in more detail on the second or on the final read. So, student achievement.
I continue to get emails, but nothing.
Okay, and then curriculum, we had a meeting, very positive meeting, I feel, and there was some movements that have been made and some documents putting together about an overall plan that has been pretty much created by the teachers or with a lot of teacher input when it comes to it. So that will, bits and pieces of it have been shared with the board, but further action will probably be taken the next board meeting from that standpoint. But with that, the plan is for the curriculum to have moving forward, we will try to get some public influence or public involvement. Majority of what we're looking at that is getting the PTO and the academic boosters, either president or whoever they appoint to be part of that committee, just as that community portion. All right. Going on to, that ends the information side of things. Moving on, I did not have any old business unless somebody had some that I was not aware of. Okay, moving on to new business. First item up is the treasurer's report and financial items. Don, I'm going to let you kind of talk through some of these. I don't want to make a motion on any of this because some of them we need to fill in some blanks. So
Yeah.
I will turn the floor over to you to start.
Well, the first item is the regular financial report. I think I'm going to preface the financial report with the fact that you all received a copy of the draft audit. I can't share a lot of what is in there because the document is still confidential until it's completely released by the auditor staff. So that is coming. there's always kind of a tug of war between the folks that complete the gap and the state auditor's office. So most of what you're reading in that draft report is kind of their tug of war back and forth, and it doesn't have much to do with how the books are handled here at the school district. So I know that a lot of what you're reading in that draft report is probably kind of confusing. So it has mostly to do with the, how they want to treat specific items. The thing that's difficult, the gap auditors come in and they take our books that are run on a cash basis and they convert everything over to a pool accounting. So during that process, there's a lot of adjustments that are made, a lot of debits and credits in one way or another. And 9 times out of 10, the state auditor's office doesn't like everything that the gap auditors do. So what they're asking for is some adjustments to their reports, not our reports. So just that's kind of a background of that. What do we have going on? I have a little bit of facilities information for you. The work continues on that forefront. A lot of activity lately. It's not a new conversation about the age of our facilities, and some things are giving way in ways that we had not anticipated, in timelines that we had not anticipated. So we continue to work with the facilities committee on short and long-term planning, putting out a few flyers right now. Some of that you're seeing on the agenda tonight for approval. We have taken that facilities tracking tool and done some adjustments in recent weeks. Some of what you're seeing this evening was actually projected on the short term. Some of it was projected on the long term, and it has moved forward. So we're doing some adjustments to what projects are in the forefront at this point. The Finance and Audit Committee met. The discussions that centered on the May submission of the 5-year forecast. We're actually going to, I'll be presenting that to you with the May meeting, and that will be submitted to ODE by the end of May. So I'm getting closer to some final numbers, and actually I'm feeling pretty good about where we are so far, getting to the close of April. Soft numbers right now, it looks like our deficit spend will have moved from almost $1.3 million to about $200,000 deficit. So that's a huge change in 1 year. And in 2019, we were looking at a $1.9 million deficit. So the progress that we've made over the last 2 years is very encouraging, and I'm thrilled with the teamwork and the hard work that's happened in this district. It's not just the finance office, it's everyone working together. So but we'll save all that fun stuff for next month, and I know you'll get way more information than you're going to want in May. So another item, this is kind of a housekeeping thing. Our workers' compensation premium is up, and so this is just a renewal of the same group. They actually they have oversight of our workers' comp and with our unemployment claims. We continue to struggle with the fraudulent unemployment claims that are being filed across the nation. Some of our reports have slowed down, but for a staff of our size, we're still struggling, I think, on the number side. So I continue to get reports periodically, so they're still coming in, but definitely not as fast. So that's promising. Trying to think if there's anything earth-shattering I want to talk to you about in the finance report itself. But like I said, we're going to talk quite a bit next month about actual results. But the numbers we're seeing right now are definitely promising. And the investments for interim funds are remaining pretty much the same. I'm definitely embracing the short-term investments right now. only because we just don't know what those returns are going to be, and hoping that with some changes in the economy, that we actually will be seeing higher numbers come the fall. So until then, we're going to keep all of those interrupt funds short. The next item on the agenda, I have 2 Board of Revision tax valuation agreements and settlements. One with Kohl's Department Store and one with Whirlpool Corporation. The largest direct settlement for the school district will come from Whirlpool. We anticipated 277,000 direct payment, and that will come in May. So we're thrilled about that. Kohl's is a much smaller amount. It's about 16,000, but we anticipate that upon approval of those agreements this week. We also have a couple of donations, several for the elementary building, and we have a couple for FFA, Kona Ice, and Kroger, Envision, as well as the Lions Club. And there's several contracts here this evening. One is for Technique Roofing System. Do you want me to have John talk about that just a little bit before we move on?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Excuse me.
I'm
So,
putting you on the spot, I apologize.
no, that's fine. So we've had some roof issues that we repair right now, primarily with the main part of the high school, which is starts at this end of the building that runs the kitchen, the cafeteria, all the way through to like the connecting the 72 connector part where the middle school would start. Those are 2 separate roofs. We've made several patches to these roofs to try to prolong because of the expense that we weren't able to incur over the years. So we're to the point now where the roof needs to come off all the way down to the deck because the wood underneath is wet, material is wet underneath. There's no way to dry it without molding it. So we had a situation last year where 3 classrooms were not able to be used due to these leaks. Technique came in and did a really good job of getting us out of that situation, but we're to the point now where something needs to be done. So working with them, their suggestion was that we could do this in stages. It's a little bit, the cost of doing it in 2 different stages or 2 different years was a few $1,000s up against, a couple $100,000 total. So it wasn't really that bad to spread this out over a 2-year period. So what they plan on doing right now is coming in, or what they would propose to do is to do the south end of the high school. From this end halfway across, somewhere in there, they would pick a good spot to cut it off there. And then do the entire roof of that 72 edition. And they would like to come in and do it over the summer. It's a complete tear off, they'll have cranes in here, no code, no permits, but it's pretty extensive job.
John, what impact will that have on the ability to use this facility?
None. No impact at all. We may have some dust and stuff flying around on the 2nd floor, but
Minimal,
very
minimal involvement of those areas anyway during that time, correct? I mean,
Correct.
That's not normally utilized by any of the fall sports that might be here or
No.
camps or
Camps or.
fill in the
No.
blank. Yep, no, that's fine, just wanted to,
Thank you.
And there was already projections in the permanent improvement fund for this repair, right?
That's
If I
correct.
remember correctly.
These are the actual PI funds. A lot of the auditorium upgrades that we were speaking of earlier, those are coming from leftover debt service money because those repairs are and upgrades are happening to the part of the building that was affected by that debt service.
This is one of the largest Duralast contractors in this part of the country. They're in a little bitty town of Polito, Ohio, but they're a very large company. And they have been really good working with us, trying to get us out of the jam, and then spreading this project out over a couple of years to try to help us do what we're doing. I think they've done a very, very good job. They're a state term pricing, so their prices are all in line with the state would recommend. And, I think they're just really they're a very good vendor trying to help us out. I mean, yeah, they're going to get paid too, but this is the best plan that we can come up with.
So John, once the roof is done in the 2 years, how long do they project the roof to last?
30.
How long do we project the building to last?
Don't answer that.
That's how what we do with it.
Good answer.
This is a good start.
It'll keep us operational.
Yes.
Any other questions on that contract?
And
Okay,
excited is the plumbing contract. You want to talk about that?
I'm just gonna, and this isn't a problem, but looking through the documents you gave me, I only have one contract. Is that correct? And it's not the one that I was expecting. So, conversation, go.
So we have a
Okay.
we have in our high school gymnasium a sewer gas problem that we've been addressing over the course of the last few years. And in the last couple of months, it's gotten worse. The last few months, it's gotten worse. So we contracted a company to come through and scope all the drains, run a camera down through the drains and try to identify where the problem is. And it was determined that the P-traps, which hold the water to keep the gas from coming into the building, if you would pour water down them, they would go into the gravel underneath. So they're rusted out. So and it basically is a problem that runs through all three of our high school locker rooms, the phys ed locker room, the coach's office, showers, the bathrooms and the floor drains. They have rusted out from the floor level down to the horizontal drain level going out to the street. So what we're gonna need to do is either cut or jackhammer all the floors out, replace all the drains and the screens, plug off the ones that we're not gonna use, clean everything out that's leaving the building, jet wash it out, and then run the cameras through it again. If we don't do that, we're going to continue to have a sewer gas problem. Now, they may find something else in there that is causing that problem along the way, but I've had 3 different contractors look at it, 3 different plumbing companies look at it, and they all agree that this is a good course of action to take to try to eliminate that problem. We've looked at the vent stacks, which appear to be in good shape. They run cameras down the vent stacks. They're not cracked or broken anywhere. So it is coming from these drains. There's 35 of them. It's just years of they're old and rusted out.
Poisonous? Is this sewer gas poisonous?
It can be, yes.
So you said you had 3 contracted, 3 people submit bids and pricing and all that?
I had 2 submit bids. The third one could not make our timeline.
So the one here is what you're proposing?
We have 2 quotes.
Yeah, so that's what I was wondering, when it
One-
comes to. the
Well, they were coming in
recommendation.
late, so the one you probably received was Reuter Brothers.
In the board documents that were provided to us, we have both them and Cider. We have both of those two
Yes.
those 2 quotes. What I was saying, I don't have that in front of me on paper,
Okay.
but we were able, at least, it was provided to us in the last 48 hours,
Yes.
Cider's quote as well. So that was why I was wondering, we have 2 quotes that were presented to the board that were different.
Yes,
Same amount of work it looked like, but a different amount.
the work scope is exact. The work scope was handed to all three of the companies. It's the exact same work scope. They weren't varied from the work scope. Nothing was changed, nothing was different. So they were both quoting from the exact same written work scope. They both had an opportunity to walk the job and calculate what they thought was their price.
So recommendation to us would be Cypher.
Mhm.
Cypher, okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that was the case when it comes to it, so. And when we take action, just so everyone knows, on item 4 of the treasurer's report, under the plumbing contract, that would be reflective of the bid or contract put forth by Cypher.
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure that you were able to see both.
Absolutely. No, that is completely fine from that standpoint, but that's why I wanted to ask about what your recommendation is from which contract to go with in that direction. I am 100% supportive when it comes to, within district people and items like that.
I was a little concerned. I know a lot of quotes and I've written a lot of projects. So, after I received each quote, I went line item by line item with each company individually and to make sure that they understood in full capacity what the work scope was. And they both know exactly what it is, exactly what they have to do to fix it. They gave very good explanation as to what they were going to do and how they were going to proceed. And so I have no doubt that they both have a complete understanding of exactly what the work scope is.
And what's the timeline would they be able to complete this?
2 weeks.
When would they be able to do that?
They'll start on it as soon as we call and tell them they can start. Within a day or two. They were given a June 12th deadline, or a June 12th deadline. But they both had said that it would take, one said they could complete it 3 weeks, others they could give it 2.
It's like they're going to do it after hours.
Yes. We required second and or third shift. So that we could continue.
And that was gonna be my next question. How will that minimally impact sports during that time? I don't know how much the locker rooms are.
Well, we're trying not to use the locker rooms at all at this point, so
Okay.
they're being used maybe as changing rooms. And we backed up on the ventilation system, as far as pulling the,
So, okay,
pulling them up.
so you're trying to,
And we're keeping the drains full.
Okay.
The problem is, you fill the drains, you fill the P traps, and they're draining out after a few days. So we're filling them, on a regular basis to hold those gases back into the sewer system where they need to be.
all right.
The next item is the Ohio School Comp, the workers' compensation program that we discussed just earlier. The next item is Hancock County Educational Service Center. These are adjusted contracts. Ryan and I sat down and met with the treasurer and superintendent, and we've made some adjustments to our annual contract. You're looking at this as kind of step 1 in the process. We're moving through providing the students in this district a higher level of service than what we're currently receiving, and reducing the price. I will say that the conversation was well received, and we are going to be able to pay them direct payment this year instead of having the contract taken directly out of our foundation. And so this year, we shouldn't have a negative cash flow in our foundation statement based on that bill. So that's good news as well. Is there anything you wanted to say about the contract, Brian?
I just that it went smooth and like you said, it's the first step, first phase of trying to make it more efficient with our services at the ESC.
Last contract item is the E-rate project. Did you want to talk at all about the E-rate project, Robert, and talk about what that covers?
I can real quick. So the E-rates, I think I touched on before, the federal program that we get reimbursed 40% of cost to upgrade or buy new equipment that allows our devices to connect to the internet. So in our case, in this round, we're going to purchase some switches which handle the physical wiring. And then the biggest improvement we'll see is adding access points to every classroom. Right now, they're just kind of staggered down the hallways. We're getting to the point where we just saturate them. So we're going to end up putting an access point in every classroom. We're going to have we're wiring basically very rooted wired with 4 or 5 drops, because the old theory was we put multiple desktops in every room. We don't do that anymore, so we're just taking one wire out of the wall and use that as our access point drops to save a ton of money on wiring. So that will be completed this summer, and big upgrade, much needed upgrade.
And E-Rate is a program, especially for Andy and Laura. It's actually essentially a discount program that is run through the Universal. Is it Universal Library still?
Yep, and it's attached to
Universal-
your phone bill, your home phone bill. Where it comes from.
So it's a federal program that's attached to school districts, and it provides discounted technology services for schools. So based on your low income numbers, you pay a portion of the total cost of the project. So we will participate in this project from our permanent improvement funding, but it's at a much discounted rate for what we receive. And the last item in my section is a budget purpose clause for the class of 2023. That's kind of a housekeeping item. It allows them to actually spend funding that's in the. And that is all I have.
We'll make a motion that we approve the treasurer's items, including the plumbing contract for Cypher.
First, second. Any questions, further discussion? All right, hearing none. Would you like to call a roll on approving the accepting items 1 through 5, with 4 being the plumbing contract?
Ms. Ebright? Yes. Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Williams? Ms. Williams? Why do I do that? Yeah. Oh, good grief. Mr. Lightfoot?
Yes, motion carries. Items are approved.
So, I'm gonna buy you chocolate. It's not better.
Moving on to superintendent's recommendation.
Wanted to highlight a couple that Ms. Deborah Loudermilch is effectively going to retire at the end of this school year. Lois Eileth is also retiring from food service. We have some standard non-renewal of non-certified personnel contracts, athletics, and so forth. We also have some teachers being employed from the high schools at work grant and the career development and planning title grants that are on here. We've also added number 6, which is some extended time back to some staff members. And we have new personnel coming in. Mrs. Reddick at the elementary school. Mrs. Samuelson and to replace Mrs. Bunn in the elementary school. And Abby Serena will be welcome to our middle school. There's also the new calendar with some adjustments, which was teacher work days, has also been added to this section. And that is pretty much the highlights of my section.
Questions for Mr. Bloom on his items? All right. Anyone want to make a motion to approve?
So,
Oh,
so
all right,
I need to approve the superintendent's recommendation.
items 1 through 11. Okay, one is the first. Any items for discussion? All right, motion on the table is to approve the superintendent's recommendations, items 1 through 11. If you would like to call the roll.
Ms. Sebright,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yeah.
Yes, motion carries. Items 1 through 11 are approved. Moving on to for the board's board's discussion, I apologize. First item is the strategic plan. Board member or Kim had requested this to be on here. I'm gonna kind of take a little bit of a stab at it. Mr. Bloom's gonna take a stab at it, and then you can finish it off to see if it's a meat when it comes to it. Strategic plan is a term that can mean multiple things when it comes to how we look and run when it comes to it. Mr. Bloom and the administrative team and faculty and staff and everyone have been working on several pieces of a strategic plan when we talk about curriculum, facilities, finance, all of those items. He has gotten some guidance from people in the community that work with strategic planning and feel that we are on track, but we just need to get a lot of these pieces that are out in different areas all in one area that everyone can see, we can refer to. The biggest point of a strategic plan, or whatever we want to call this, is to have items that can be achieved and items that people should be held accountable for meeting. So setting goals, items like that when it comes to it, whether that's their strategic plan or something that my organization is referred to, and what we use is something called a plan on a page. And that's kind of what I think Mr. Bloom will touch on. And the item with that is that you see everything on one page, and then there might be some references to some other ones when it comes to it, but everyone sees one item that then it becomes useful. Once again, I feel that you have a lot of these pieces, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but potentially having it all kind of put together in something that can be presented to the board at the next board meeting, if not June, probably by the latest. In that direction. But I'll turn it over to you and see what gaps I need to fill in, or you need to fill in.
The biggest is, like you said, it started mid-November was the start of this, and the staff, K-12 has worked at it. We've had some parent surveys, we've had businesses involved with Don's help with the facilities committee and with technology plans and maintenance plans and athletic plans and all of the plans and job descriptions, everything that goes into trying to get a plan for the district, and in my opinion, has moved pretty quick. And it's now at the point where how do you make it where it can be communicated easily? And I met with an outside individual who does this, and a couple light bulbs went off in talking with him, and the term he said, plan on a page, and some of the examples that were shown of me, it looks as though, and I'm meeting with that individual who represents his company next Tuesday, and he has already started working on some mock-ups that would make it easier for everyone to understand, including the community, on how to communicate that. So I don't see any issue why there couldn't be voted on in May.
One point, just for complete clarity when it comes to it, it is an outside company that does this. There was no cost to the district when it comes to it. So he was willing to donate his time and services. So we appreciate that. But anytime you talk about a consulting company, there's always the fear that people have that there was a price tag with that, but that was not the case in this side of things.
So I think to me, this is going back to our commitment to better community outreach and explaining what we're looking to move the district toward and what are our guiding posts. And so that as we continue to hear about our facilities, people understand where we're heading with that. As you say, as curriculum changes, people understand that we're moving in a direction, and then there'll be deliverables that it will feel that if you want the information, it's available. And so it'll be located on a page, and then supporting documentation will be behind it. And so I think that's a great way to kind of give everyone a vision of where our district is heading. And then we can not see bright shiny objects to chase after. And to me, that's, if we can accomplish that, I think that would be great. I do appreciate that you want to have it done in May. But I do think that something of that magnitude, we should allow a little more time for public comment, and maybe present it at May, and then give that next month time for people to comment on it. Because sometimes I think that's where we get some of our best ideas. So I appreciate all the amazing work that has already happened, especially during the pandemic. I think sometimes we forget you've only been here 10 months. And I mean, for us who've been on the board, it's been a very big difference for 10 months to have so much movement. And so I think getting the rest of the world caught up with where we are and maybe coming out from underground will be a useful exercise. So thank you, Brian. I really do appreciate all the work and time you're putting into creating the best path forward for our district.
Thank you.
Any other comments on that one? You wanna voice in? Okay. First read on the following policies. For the new board members, you take turns going back and forth and reading them aloud. So I don't know who wants this. Just so everyone knows, the first read of the policies is when it's up for the first review from the board on policies. They will take 3 reads. On the final read, we will vote upon the approval. When it comes to this, I'm gonna apologize. I can't find my notes when it came to when we talked about each of the policies. But I can tell you that the majority of them, it was literally a verbiage change when it comes to it from a legal standpoint. And I can get back to everyone with the exact those are. You will see several of those policies have matching numbers just at a different level. So 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. That is normally because we have items that are in the classified, the non-classified, and potentially in the student section. So that's why there's all have a similar number, just a different thousands. And a lot of times those were the ones that we were talking about. That was a verbiage change that we needed when it came to it from a legal side of things. So nothing that we have to do with this first read. I will attempt to bring my notes and or I can update you as well. It was her first meeting sitting in one of these committee meetings. So it's fun, but yeah. So we will give you more information when it comes to that side of things. Next item is item 3. I guess, sorry, any question or anything on the policy side of things? Okay. Next item is item 3, which was we added on, which is the voucher for Ohio. Linda, I'll turn it over to you. The information was sent out to us. But
Yeah. So I did, and thank you, John, for helping me. I had some issues, but I sent all the board members and Brian and Dawn handouts from the Board Leadership Institute that I attended over the weekend, which I by the way paid out of pocket. So from the district. Okay. By the way. So one was on Ed Choice, which is the voucher program in Ohio that most people already know about. So in the financial year 2000, or fiscal year 2008, which is when the voucher program started, $42 million districts lost, and now it's 350 million. Yeah. So basically, and it may not necessarily impact us as it does like larger school districts, but it's impactful and it's going to continue to get, I think, worse and worse, and we're going to continue to lose more and more money. So one of the things that has been done through the Ohio Education Association and also it's called Equality. Ohio Coalition for Equality and Adequacy of School Funding. They have this organization now called Vouchers for Ohio. And they're asking for school boards to pass a resolution. And I sent you guys a copy of the resolution. So we don't have to do this tonight, but I would like you to at least look over it and maybe we can do something about it later. And then you're joining, not necessarily litigation, but there is litigation happening now. Brian, you know a little bit more about that side than I do. But they're attempting to bring litigation against the state of Ohio and the voucher program. And they're basically looking at the fact that it's unconstitutional, unlawful diversion of local tax revenues, because the money that's paid to the vouchers is money coming from our taxpayers. They're looking at religious issues, thorough and efficient clause, over-reliance on property tax, and equal protection. Those are the issues that they're addressing through this lawsuit. And they have a Cleveland law firm, and the name escapes me. But anyway, they're working on that. And so what they're asking for, and I think Fostoria City Schools, they're involved in it. And Brian, you can talk more about the superintendents that you guys talked about, but to join the coalition, which I think we should join the coalition, it's $2 per pupil. Okay, and so we give that money to the vouchers for Ohio so that can help them with the litigation. So we'd be looking at an investment of about just a little bit $2,000. All right.
Is that a one-time?
So I guess I encourage board members to review the stuff that I sent out, and the resolution is attached as well. And perhaps we can actually vote to approve the resolution. I think in the long run, it would be good for public education, for our public schools to work together to make the school funding much more equitable. Questions? Brian's gonna help me a little bit.
Yeah, for those of you that have taught long enough, like been around with me, the same group that's driving this started all of the unconstitutional funding way back in the 90s, and it's been declared unconstitutional 3 times. And then you're supposed to get a windfall from the lottery, and then the lottery came in, but then they took money from other parts of your budget. So the same individuals that are leading this started that, and they've morphed over to this, saying that it's unconstitutional because there's no accountability for the money that local taxpayers vote. And when they take it everywhere else, the voters don't have a say in where the money goes, and there's no accountability for what you voted in. So that's an extension of that. And they met with they're going around to every county and meeting with superintendents to try to gather support to start this fight so that local tax monies are not being used unconstitutional, even though it's been declared how we fund schools unconstitutional 3 times, and it really has never been fixed. It is another attempt to try to hold the powers that be accountable for the money. So that's where it's all stemming from.
I just have and John, this is something maybe you can get me later, is do you know how much money our district loses to vouchers? Yeah. I'm just intrigued to see what how much are we really losing, and is it really worth spending? I mean, not that we shouldn't be a part of litigation, but, and I guess my other question is just because I'm just curiosity, is that just for like typical students and the funding out for that? That doesn't have to do with any of the special ed voucher stuff?
That I don't know.
That's separate? Okay.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Okay, so it sounds like we got a few questions before we'll take any action, just because finances standpoint. So this potentially will be on the agenda for the next month, but I would encourage all board members to review over that if you didn't have a chance prior to.
have us out at 8:56. So you see a motion to adjourn.
Here, I make the motion, yes.
Linda is first.
Second.
Andy is a second. Not anything to be discussed. No questions. So if you want to call the roll on adjournment.
Missy Bright, yes. Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
Now absent. Mr. Lightfoot.
Yes, motion carries. We are adjourned. I appreciate everyone. Thanks everyone that's online. And we will see you all. Stay tuned to see the location for the May board meeting. That will be though back on the third Thursday of the
Yes.
month.